surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too. We smiled and both embraced.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung Ho. It's March 20th, 2022. The title of this show is The Russian Candidate. And the Russian candidate, no doubt, is Donald Trump. All right, why do I say that? Okay, here goes. Again, some of you know me, some of you don't, but I was a criminal defense attorney my whole career. I was involved in many serious cases, federal court, state court, whatever. And back in 2000, there was a really big case, came down, and big press conference, Loretta Lynch was there, and government was claiming that they had busted this group that included mafia families, Russian mafia, and they had infiltrated Wall Street. Well, they did bust people that were involved in like 4 out of 5 mob families and all these Russian gangsters, and it was a big case. I was called in to represent Danny Persico Jr. He was a member of the Colombo Khan family. And early on, we realized that the main cooperating witness against all of the defendants was a guy by the name of Felix Sater. And so that was in 2000. The cases, none of them went to trial. I didn't know then why, at the end, everybody got such lenient pleas. Everybody's facing like 20 years, and they got very light sentences, no trials, nothing. All right. So the cases, I say all the cases, there were 19 defendants, were over maybe by 2003, 2004. Let's go now to 2018. I'm watching TV, Harry Melba show, and he's talking about this guy by the name of Felix Sater. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Is that the Felix Sater? I remember that name. I went down into where I have my files in the basement, and I pulled up the case. It was USA versus Frank Coppa. He was the main defendant. My client was defendant number 3. And right away, I realized that Harry Melba is talking about the very same guy that was an informer in this really big case back in 2000. Here he is again in 2018 on TV. And I was like amazed. So I said, let me dig into this. So I went online and I did some research. Now, this is 2018. And I came across a lot of information about Felix Sater. There was no doubt he was a government informer, FBI informer. And I knew then that the person that flipped him, there were like several assistant U.S. attorneys, but the supervisor on the case was Andrew Weissman, who's been making several appearances every day now on MSNBC. He flipped him. I've got the plea agreement and the cooperation agreement. Their signatures are on it because I was on the case. How's that? He flipped Felix Sater in 1998, December 10, 1998. He became an FBI informer working with the Department of Justice. Andrew Weissman did that. All right. So now it's 2018, and I'm finding out more about Felix Sater. And I come across a filing. It was a writ of habeas corpus, no, a writ of certiorari, to the United States Supreme Court, and I'm reading it. This is 2018, I'm reading this thing. And in that writ, it's about Felix Sater. It's about that big case, that big case about the mob infiltrating Wall Street. It's about my client, Danny Persico Jr. And what the hell's going on here? So on the first page of the writ, it was a lawyer's name, and I called him. His name was Richard Lerner. And he wanted to know who I was. I said, well, I represented Danny Persico Jr. on the Copa case. He said, wait, we're coming to see you right now. I said, whoa, hold on. They came to see me the next day, and they told me what was going on. Now it's 2018. It turns out in 2010, this lawyer by the name of Fred Oberlander found out that Felix Sater, while he was still working with the FBI, and at the time for Mueller had been appointed by Bush 41 in 2002, I think, and reappointed by Obama in 2012. So this guy, Felix Sater, they found out while he was still working and still not sentenced, and he's working, his boss is Mueller. They had Felix Sater in Trump Tower doing business deals with Trump, with the Trump organization, and what they were doing was they were laundering Russian money from oligarchs in Russia. These oligarchs were stealing money from the Russian people, the Russian government, and they were laundering it here in the United States. It was their beachhead. It was money. And this guy, this FBI informer, happened to be born in Russia. He came here when he was a child. And he and his organization, Bayrock, and the Trump organization, are laundering close to $1 billion of Russian money here into Trump developments or whatever, to launder money. Now remember, nobody's going to move that kind of money out of Russia without Putin's approval. So why does Trump love Putin so much? Well, if somebody gave you access to $1 billion, wouldn't you like him? You know, he likes Putin because of the money that came his way. It's very simple. Now, this all happened while he was doing this with a Russian born FBI informer that, and most of this was done before he was even sentenced. Here's a guy out there that hasn't been sentenced yet committing crimes. He's money laundering. And on occasion, the FBI and the Department of Justice will let, they call them valuable assets, commit crimes. I know this happens. Valuable assets will commit murders. Valuable assets will do big drug deals, and nothing will happen to them because the government has given them impunity. And what they're doing, they have a term for it. They call it otherwise illegal activity. It could be murders, drug deals. It could be money laundering. They have a pass on it. And if you commit crimes with that government informer, you too get derivative immunity, and that's what happened. So Trump took advantage of the situation. Now, I don't know if he was brought in immediately or if he found out, but there's no doubt he took advantage of it, and there's no doubt at the time, nobody knows this, I know it, that he had one of the best lawyers ever. His name was Jay Goldberg. I knew Jay Goldberg personally. He passed away last December. We were on the same case together, the Copa case, the same informer, Felix Sater, and some other people. And here you have Trump doing business with Felix Sater. And I don't know what Jay's involvement was. I don't know. But he was there to protect his client. And surely Trump has been protected to such an extent that he cannot be prosecuted by the feds. They can't do anything to him. They all know what they did. I mean, your hero out there might be Obama. He knows what Trump did. Mueller knows what Trump did. Loretta Lynch, Obama's attorney general, they knew what he was doing. He laundered Russian money. That's a crime. All right. So when I heard from these lawyers in 218 what they were trying to disclose, they were trying to disclose what Felix Sater was doing with Donald Trump. And believe me, they got hammered by the federal government. They sealed everything. They went after them. They tried to prosecute them. I got involved in the case, and I came forward on the record, went to court. The government didn't want to hear anything from me. They knew I was telling the truth. They accused these two guys, Fred Oberlander and Richard Lerner, of outing Felix Sater as an informer in 2011. Meanwhile, we knew, everybody on the case, all the attorneys, all the people involved, knew that Felix Sater was an informer when we went to court the first day, March 2nd. Just by reading the indictment, we knew who the informers were. And they're claiming that these two attorneys in 2011 revealed that Felix Sater was an informer. Why? Because they wanted to get him killed by my client, Danny Persico Jr. Is that absurd? Is that absurd? The government let that go by. They persecuted these two lawyers. They destroyed their reputation, their business, but they couldn't do anything to me. I came forward, I went to court, and I'm there to tell them the truth. Guess what? They wouldn't let me take the stand. How's that? Would not let me take the stand. In that proceeding, I was there on behalf of Fred Oberlander and Rich Lerner. I had my own lawyer there, really good lawyer. And he was in court, and he introduced himself to the U.S. attorneys. I was there to testify. No way. The judge went ballistic, a female judge, Judge Hall. I never seen anything like that. I never seen such hostility towards me and these lawyers. Neither did my client, my counsel. Anyhow, Trump is surely a monster, and the feds can't do anything about it because he did this money laundering with their informer. The informer got a pass, and it happened on their watch. And it was obvious to me, and I told a few people, when Mueller was appointed special counsel, I said, Mueller's not there to get Trump. Mueller's there to make sure nothing happens, that nothing comes out about what Trump did with his informer, his FBI informer, Felix Sater. And I said, no, Mueller's not going to do anything to Trump. And my wife got ballistic, like, you can't, how do you know that? I said, I know these things. And sure enough, how's this? Mueller's investigation is winding up. It was, I think, in 2018. The last witness he called was Felix Sater against Michael Cohen. It was all bullshit. And I told Nikki, my wife, I said, Mueller's going to fold his tent and go home, not going to do anything. Sure enough, a few months later, he was gone. He never put a glove on Trump. And I went to see Mueller testify. He didn't want to testify. I went there, I was in the overflow room. I was like 3 feet away or 4 feet away from the big screen, 5 feet maybe. Mueller was in distress. And I had got through to only one congressman. I said, ask him these questions. Only one. That's how difficult it is to contact them. Ask him, did he investigate money laundering, Trump money laundering, Trump's financials, or Trump's relationships with Russian oligarchs? He asked the questions. I was there. And and Mueller responded to each question. Money laundering? No. Financial transactions? No. Russian oligarchs? No. So what the hell was he doing? Like I said, he was there to make sure nothing happened to Trump, because if something happened to Trump about those subjects, it would burn him completely. Obama, Bush 43, Loretta Lynch, FBI agents, U.S. attorneys, and the biggest, I don't know what to call this guy, Andrew Weissman. Andrew Weissman knows what he did. He knows everything. And he's not letting on that, oh, by the way, I flipped this guy, Felix Sater, he laundered money with Trump. Nobody's even asking him any questions about it. He's on TV every day, MSNBC. And I had recently talked about Andrew Weissman with Jay Goldberg. You know, he was on my show 4 times recently. Before he died, went to his home, we were talking. He said, Andrew Weissman, of all the attorneys in the world, he only said Andrew Weissman. He only mentioned his name. In what context, I'll tell you. When special counsel, when Mueller was appointed, Trump actually called Jay Goldberg. Jay Goldberg wrote about it in his book, and he told me about it. The book called The Courtroom is My Theater. Trump called him, he was walking to Manhattan somewhere, and he's Trump's lawyer, and nobody even understands that. He came on, he started representing Trump on Trump's first divorce case. I forgot, that was Marla Staples or something like that. He's Trump's lawyer, his real lawyer, not Michael Cohen. And Trump wants him to come to Washington to represent him. And he says to Trump, I can't go. I'm involved in something really big. But he gives Trump some advice, and this is what he tells him. Don't hire Rudy Giuliani. How's that? This is Jay Goldberg, maybe the best lawyer in the land at the time. And don't cooperate with the special prosecutor. And that guy, Andrew Weissman, you can't trust him. You can't trust Andrew Weissman, and he's gonna run the whole show. See, he mentioned 2 names, Rudy Giuliani and Andrew Weissman, that they couldn't be trusted, basically. How's that? Andrew Weissman. Jay Goldberg knew he couldn't be trusted, and he's right. He is the worst, and nobody is asking him anything about his background. They're making him out to be some kind of expert, legal expert. No, he's an expert worm. He is so bad. He's so low to the ground. He has done so much. I mean, people are saying now that Trump is the greatest security risk to Western civilization. I've been saying for a while that Trump is the greatest national security risk to the United States. And we put him there. Our FBI, our Department of Justice, and our federal judges, they have protected Felix Sater and Trump all this time to the detriment of people that tried to bring out the truth, like Fred Oberlander and Rich Lerner. Me, they can't ruin me. They couldn't ruin me. They couldn't say anything bad about me. But they actually accused these lawyers of trying to get Felix Sater killed. And it was all bullshit. And I went to court. I put it in an affidavit, and I put it in a letter, and I went to court to testify. They wouldn't let me. But they can't say a word about me. They can't say anything to me. Now, one word. Mr. Giannini's lying? No, don't say that. You want to respond to Mr. Giannini? Don't do that, because he's telling the truth. All right. So what's going on now with Trump? He's invincible as far as the feds go. He's invincible. And by going after him in state court for these minor crimes, I never had a case where someone was accused of violating the election law, ever. And those are not serious crimes. Nobody's going to jail for that. And the other thing, the other prosecution against the Trump Organization, what was the penalty? It was $1,860,000 was the fine, and had nothing to do with Trump as a person. He had no liability. Going after Trump for these things is only going to make him stronger. He's going to use it like, look, you're going after me. I'm being persecuted. Selective prosecution. And these prosecutors, start to think about, why would they do something so stupid? But they're doing it. It's going to help Trump. All right. What else? I don't know how to even get this out. I mean, people know this. Like all the talking heads, what I'm telling you right now is everybody, they know it, maybe not in the detail that I have, because I have documents. But for example, these are just photographs, if you could see this. That's a photograph of Trump and Felix Sater, I think maybe in 2007. They were working on a project in Manhattan together called the Trump Soho. It was all money from Russia that came in to finance it. And Felix Sater still hadn't been sentenced yet. He's out there committing crimes with Trump, and he hasn't been sentenced by Judge Glasser. And everybody that took a plea did, time. A lot of them didn't do much time at all, including my client. But when it came time for Felix Sater to be sentenced in 2009, so he has been out there committing crimes since 1998. That's 11 years. He's out there committing crimes while he's working for an informer as an informer for the FBI. How's that? He goes before Judge Glasser, and what did Judge Glasser do? Now, he's facing 20 years, and he's facing, like, really large fine, like maybe 400 million, or no, 40 million, or 60 million, 80 million, and restitution. You know, he set up a phony brokerage. They actually did this. You know, they stole, allegedly, $44 million from, people that bought this phony stock. They call it a pump and dump scheme. There were probably thousands of people that invested in these phony brokerage, phony stocks. They lost the money. But the law is they have to be notified about the prosecution, and there's mandatory restitution. That's Congress passed those laws. Well, when Felix Sater went for sentencing, no mention of the victims, no mention of the restitution. It's mandated by Congress. What happened to him? Judge Glasser. All happened was a $25,000 fine. That's it. The fine should have been $60 million, and the restitution should have been, what he stole, besides the fine. And those people that were the victims should have been in court. Nobody notified them. The whole sentence was illegal. You understand that? It was illegal. And they do this secretly. We never know about it, because if you look at the docket, of course, Felix Sater, when you look at the docket outside the courtroom, his name is not on the docket. And when you go into the courtroom, there's no one there but prosecutors and friends of Felix Sater. The other thing is that the way they persecuted Fred Oberlander and Rich Lerner, they claimed that Felix Sater's files, his criminal files, were sealed. That was a lie. That was a lie, and they got away with it. They got away with it because the evidence came out years later that Felix Sater's files went to the National Archives in 2004. They were made public. I'm talking about hard copies of the files. Everything he did, the plea, the cooperation agreement, this and that, it was there for people to look at. And people did look at it in 2004. And now in 2010, when Fred Oberlander started to disclose this information in a civil RICO case against Felix Sater, and Trump is in the back there too, they said, these files are closed. No, they were not closed. It's a lie. These files are sealed. It's a lie. It's a lie. They were not sealed. And they made such a big deal that these files are sealed. No. What happened is they were there in 2004. Anybody can go look at them. Some people did. And then Judge Glasser requisitioned them back to federal court in 2010 when Oberlander came forward going after Sater on a civil RICO case. Judge Glasser requisitioned them back, and guess what? The files disappeared. So this lie, they got away with it. These files are sealed. No. Once they were made public, they're public. You can't reseal something that's unsealed. But they told these lawyers, and they told everyone, and they got away with it until finally, like maybe in 2019, the judge finally realized, that these files had been unsealed, all the while maintaining all these lies, the government lying about it. I guess the point is, it's a situation that's very rare that the truth is not going to come out. It's not likely to come out unless someone, like in Deep Throat, someone high up that was involved in all of this comes forward and says, this is what happened. How do you know? Because I was involved in it. Because I was in the FBI, and I was, and Felix Sater was one of my informers. I was working with him. I know this happened. Why are you coming forward now? Because I realize now what we did is so bad, for all of us. We created Trump. We went along with this, and we tried to protect our own asses and protect other people. This is really maybe one of the biggest scandals ever. And there's no doubt that Trump is the Russian candidate. Think of all the things he's tried to do, how he's praised Putin, how he tried to dismantle NATO, how he's trying to undermine our support for Ukraine right now. He's the Russian candidate. Felix Sater was the Russian connection as far as money goes, but Trump is the Russian candidate. There's no way this man has ever been fit to run for any office. He couldn't even run. I was going to say dog catcher, but I don't want to demean dogs. But he should not be able to do this, but he can, because we put him there. Our esteemed institutions made him this way. He's invincible. Something has to be done. I don't know how or who. He has to be stopped. All right, it's coming to an end. Eden, come here. Come here, girl. Hey. I'm going to try and get Eden to say hello. Come here. Come on. Hey, come over here. Come on. Got 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2. Come here. Here she is. Here she is. Taking the.
I saw a familiar face walking on the avenue, both surprised by the way